The difference between yogurt and kefir. Many people assume that because yogurt and kefir are cultural milk products, there isn't much difference between the two. This is not true. There are many differences between yogurt and kefir, including how they are made, the type of bacteria present, the health benefits of each. The first difference is how they made. Kefir made from kefir grains in room temperature, and yogurt needs some sort of warming device to properly cultivate. But let's be focused on kefir. Kefir can made with two ways, from a grain starter and from the kefir grains. Kefir grains is more popular because kefir grains you can use multiplied times. Just this looks like gelatin grains. Just put in a clean jar and put some fresh milk, and in room temperature in 10 or 24 hours you'll have fresh kefir. Do the same manipulation next day and you'll have again fresh kefir. But don't use metal elements in your preparation of kefir. Use plastic or glass for making kefir grains. Another way prepared kefir from a grain starter. If this way is very good if you want to make kefir one time, and that's all. And of course it will be easy. But let's be true, then from kefir grains you'll have much more benefits from bifid bacteria. And of course this kind of kefir is more natural and better for, especially for kids. As you know, kefir contains large range of bacteria. Yogurt, on the other hand, has less bacteria, but different bacteria. Another way to make. You need special machine to prepare yogurt. Another benefit from kefir is the consistency of yeast. But both yogurt and kefir are lactic acid fermentation. In addition, kefir contains beneficial yeasts that can also produce a slight amount of alcohol. But it's not a lot, like 0.02 texture and flour. Yogurt has a flour that most of us are familiar with, tart, smooth or creamy. Kefir is also tart, but it can have a touch of yeast and alcohol flour to it due to beneficial yeast presence in the culture. Most varieties of yogurt are also ticket that kefir given the same rate of fermentation. While yogurt is almost always eaten with spoon, kefir can often be eaten with a glass drinking. Both kefir and yogurt are beneficial cultural dairy products that can perform different helpful tasks in the body. But this first and second can consist of several spoons of sugar. And before buying, for example, yogurt or kefir, if you don't want to do at home fresh one, you need always to see consistency of sugar. How many sugar consists this or that product? Until 1 spoon of sugar, it's around 5 grams. And in label, when you buy kefir or yogurt, you can read carbohydrates, sugar. Carbohydrates and sugar could be different number. And how many milliliters you're going to buy. You can see then in one bottle, usually more than 100 milliliters of kefir. And choosing a kefir culture, grain or powdered starter. Let's talk about this. There are two types of cultures available for making kefir. As I mentioned before, the traditional method is to use kefir grains, and I recommend you to use kefir grains, which are naturally occurring organisms, probably originally from the mountains. Kefir grains don't actually contain any grains. The second type of culture is a powdered kefir starter. This culture is created in a laboratory, which means it's meant to be used once or maybe a few times before the culture weakens. There are distinct advantages and disadvantages to both types of culture. And let's see. Prebiotic beverage. Both kefir grains and kefir starter can be used with numerous types of milks and other liquids to create a prebiotic beverage containing live strains of yeast and bacteria. While kefir starter can successfully culture almost any type of milk, kefir grains can only culture non-dairy milk 1 or 2 times before they must be refreshed with dairy milk. Easy to use. Both milk kefir grains and kefir starter are quite easy to use, even for someone who is new to making cultured food. One way in which kefir grains and kefir starter differ is in the number of strains of bacterial yeast and bacterial available through the starter culture. Generally speaking, kefir starter has 7 to 9 strains of bacteria and little or no yeast, depending on the particular brand of starter. Milk kefir grains generally have around 56 strains of yeast and bacteria, making kefir grains the more nutrient-dense method for making kefir. Kefir grains are reusable and with proper care can be used to culture batch after batch of kefir. The kefir grains are simply placed in milk, allowed to culture, then removed and placed in new milk. A small amount of the kefir made with powdered kefir starter can often be reserved and added to fresh milk to make a new bunch of kefir. Generally, it can be used several times before the bacteria weaken significantly. The number of times powdered kefir starter can be used depending on a few factors, including the freshness of the milk and how quickly the kefir is reset. Culture care. Another way in which kefir grains and kefir starter differ in the way the cultures are cared for. Kefir grains can turn out a new bunch of bacteria every 12 to 48 hours, but to stay healthy, they must be cared for, switched out to new milk regularly and not allowed to starve. Small bunch 1 to 2 cups can be made if it becomes difficult to keep, in which consumed the kefir being made. Powdered kefir starter is well suited for individuals who do not wish to make kefir regularly. Kefir starter is packed in a refrigerator or freezer, and when kefir is desired, cost. While kefir grains are more costly upfront, over time kefir grains are the far more economical option since they are truly reusable and can turn out a new bacteria of kefir every 18 to 48 hours. Bottom line, we generally recommend kefir grains as the most natural, economical and nutrient-dense way to make kefir. However, it's not always practical to maintain kefir grains on a daily basis. It's more practical to make kefir only occasionally We could recommend an option for the powdered kefir starter. I've recommended you to use kefir grains and keep to drink kefir regularly. Because this product have to be in your refrigerator for purpose to be healthy and strong, to help your digestion system, for make you continue to be beautiful, young and smart. This product can make your kids strong. This product can help, kefir can help provide in your body helpful vitamins and minerals from food and from vitamins from tablets. And kefir grains, it's a very good option if you cannot buy fresh kefir regularly from the shop, especially if you have small children, kid, then kefir grains is very good, like food for your kids, and you can be absolutely sure that your kid will grow good and healthy, will not have any problems. I want to mention it then, if you made kefir or buy from the shop, this kefir should be as fresh as possible. It's better to drink kefir immediately when you create it from kefir grains, or keep it in the refrigerator, but not more than 3 days. If you keep more than 3 days, then you made something from this kefir, and find some recipe you can make cupcake, put on cake, or create some pancake for your kids or for yourself. Buying kefir from the shop, always look on date. 2 months, it could not be possible to keep all these helpful bacteria in one bottle, and especially when you buy it, put in a refrigerator, open it, drink it a bit, and then drink faster, don't keep longer.